if there are people in the marketplace that are prospects, what do they say they want versus customers? What do they actually buy? You're listening to the Traffic Handler Podcast. We're about getting new customers, making more sales, and growing your e-commerce retail business. I'm your host, Amy Biddle. Today's episode is about direct response copy and how to use it to make sales. I wanted to go over some of the details that Kim Krause-Schwalm covered in last week's episode. We've had 3 direct response copywriters on the show so far: Doberman Dan, Gwen Hutchings, and Kim Krause-Schwalm. If you're selling online, you need to be a student of marketing. It's actually turned into a lot of fun for me. So what started as study turned into just fun. Today's episode is about these things and more. So I hope you enjoy. This week's episode is a little bit different because we're going to get a little bit meta. I'm going to dig into some past episodes. Most recently, Kim Krause-Schwalm was last week's guest, but I've also had Doberman Dan and Gwen Hutchings, and these are professional copywriters. They're people who write in order to sell things, and they're using a method of writing called direct response, meaning you put an ad out there and people respond to it, and it's trackable data, and then it's duplicatable. You can do it again. You can run that ad again, or you can make changes and test the response. All different ways you can do this. But Kim, Dan, and Gwen follow what they say. If you haven't heard the episodes, go back and listen. If you've heard them once, listen again, because each one shared really good information about how they do marketing with their copywriting. So what I wanted to do today is just go over some really just 3 key points about writing for your business, because everything I do is based on, you don't have to hire that out, especially in the beginning. If you're small, you're wearing all the hats, you're doing everything, and you can do this too. And my belief is that the marketing is the last thing you farm out. You know, everything, you're farming out fulfillment, you're farming out production, you're farming out customer service and everything along those lines. But the last thing you let go of before you go sit on an island on a beach someplace is your marketing. So let's talk about 3 things that you can do, should be doing, need to be doing, how you're going to be doing them. We're just going to talk about these 3 things having to do with copywriting using that direct response method. And I will refer probably a few more times to the episodes with Kim, Dan, and Gwen. So you may want those as well. So number 1, study other ads. I have a swipe file. I call it a swipe file. Most writers call it a swipe file. I'll start off by saying never plagiarize. Don't ever just steal a good idea. You can use somebody else's idea as a placeholder, but always remember, you have to go back and change it and make it yours. Plagiarism didn't fly in 5th grade, and it's not going to fly now. Rule number 1, study other ads, but in doing so, don't plagiarize, don't steal other people's stuff. Use other people's stuff by making it yours. So one of the things that I do with what I affectionately call my swipe file is just check out and see what other people have said about this thing that they are selling. And is it something that I need to say in what I'm writing, or do I need to go in the opposite direction? And there are a number of ways that you can research these things. Most everybody on here is online. So go to the Facebook ads library. I'll have a link to the ads library in the show notes. You'll get a bunch of good learning there. One of the things to look for there is, did an ad run once and never again? Clue number 1, don't copy that ad. Because if they didn't run it again, chances are pretty good it wasn't doing anything good. But if you see an ad in the ads library or any place, stack of magazines, check out and see if they ran the same ad in the same magazine more than once. Magazine advertising is quite expensive. So if you're seeing the same ad in multiple issues, you've probably found a winner. If there's probably if there are two, three is a dead certainty that they're making money with that ad. Oh, and here's another tip for you. Google this. Wall Street Journal, 2 young men. There was a Wall Street Journal ad that ran for 50 years. It was responsible for about $2 billion in sales revenue for the Wall Street Journal. It was a story of 2 young men. It was, I don't know if it was a full page ad, but it was somewhat long. It ran for 50 years. Now, did the Wall Street Journal write that ad on their first day of business and put it out there and just sit back and wait for the subscribers to come in? No. Advertising just doesn't work that way. But this is an ad that wish I could tell you if it ran in the publication and letters. I do know that it was mailed. So it's not going to be something that most of us are going to replicate. The world is moving very quickly. Chances are pretty good. I'd say, 100% of the time, you're going to have to write multiple ads and test them. And we'll talk about testing in number 2. But for point number 1, study other ads. What makes them work? What affected you? Note how you respond to ads too. What did you like? What did you not like? And there was an ad, Super Bowl ad a number of years ago with cowboys herding cats. And if you've ever seen it even once, it's so funny you remember it. But can you remember who they were advertising for? What was the ad about? Who were they promoting? Most people don't remember that. So I'd call that ad entertainment, but as a marketing promotion, it was a huge fail. Most people don't remember that it was an EDS ad. So that'd be a fail. If you're in the business of entertainment, entertain. If you're in the business of marketing, use direct response. And I'll put some links in the notes about how to learn more about that. Direct response is all about put a message out there, get a response, a conversion of some kind, whether it's a click or a call or a purchase. And then once you have those in place, you can make good decisions. If you put an ad out there and you get a whole bunch of conversions, how many more places can you run that ad? And quality of the audience, are they responding? Are they calling to ask questions? Are they, so how is that ad working in the market? And then how can you make it better? So the last point about this is to get on mailing lists. Businesses who advertise in print, whether it's newspapers, magazines, these are not as prevalent as they used to be, but I like them. And companies that email, almost everybody has an email list now. A lot of companies have SMS, text messages for commercial. These are all viable, really, really good options for research. Just because you get on somebody's mailing list doesn't mean you have to buy from them. You certainly can use that information to learn. And if you're not able to defend against the onslaught of marketing stuff that comes into your email box, make a folder, put it in a folder. And then when you want to go find out about other people's advertising, then go look in the folder then and put your credit card in a block of ice or something. I mean, like, you don't have to use this stuff as a reason to go shopping. But the ones that make you want to buy, study those, and find out why you're having that feeling. You really have to be a little bit self-aware to be able to do this, so that you can look at how you're responding to an ad and then go write one like that. And one more thing for e-commerce, Kim does these, and Dan and Gwen, I mean, all three of them that we've had on the show so far, and there are more coming. They frequently will write long form copy, which could be something called a magalog, which is a magazine length advertisement. We're not talking about that for e-commerce. I'm talking about writing collection or category copy, which is going to be a couple of very short paragraphs, as well as product information, product descriptions. These are short. These are not, long form copy. We're talking about ads for Facebook that are going to be 2, 3, 5 lines. You can test long form copy. If other people in your space are using long form and you see those ads over and over, then long form copy may be something to test. So anyway, I think that's it for my notes for study other ads. But if you become a student of copywriting, and that by extension will go into content, but I'm not going to do that today. Study other ads is step number 1. Step number 2, practice and test. One of the big mistakes I see with new sellers is they think, I'm going to write this ad. I opened my store last week. I'm going to write this ad. I'm going to just make a fortune, sell out of my stuff. Yeah, no, doesn't work that way. Sometimes in the beginning, you can have a good win based on you're just so into your market right then that you hit the right note and people respond. So maybe it's beginner's luck. Maybe it's, being so in tune with that one ad that you do it well. But it's really a rare situation where you write one ad and sell everything. Advertising is always, always, always about your audience, which is your list, and how you're presenting that offer to them, which is your offer, lists and offers. So it's going to always be a continual practice of testing and analyzing, and then evaluating and then iterating to get your message to market match. It's just, I can't stress it enough, because so many people have said, I'm going to write this one ad. Well, you're going to end up writing a bunch of ads. Now, if you are running Facebook ads, for example, which is always the environment that I fall back on, because so many people are running Facebook ads, you don't want to do too many tests all at once, unless you're starting with a really big budget. That's part of practicing and testing. You don't want to start, going out there, hey, I got a budget of $20 a day. I'm going to go test these 15 ads. It's not going to work. You need to have, probably if you have a $20 a day budget, you're going to at most run 1 or 2 ads. So, really consider, how does my budget get spread across all of my audiences and all of my ad copy, headline, creative, and how is that going to dilute? How's the budget going to be spread across all of those aspects of the campaign? Now, if you run a campaign and you find that it's generating a lot of sales, you can, now this is getting into how to run ads, so I'm not going to do a bunch of that today, but you can incrementally increase the budget to try to get more purchases out of that ad that's working. But you also want to collect the information that the campaign gives you. Don't say, hey, this is working, ignore all of the metrics and then go on from there. You have to read the metrics, know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers, and then iterate. So for example, for a while, I was running ads for a company that sold $100 dresses, and we were able to get their CPA, cost per sale, cost per acquisition is the A, but in selling, it's the CPA is the sale, cost per acquisition. We got their CPA down to $3. So we were selling these $100 dresses for $3 a piece. Spend $3, sell a $100 dress, $97 gross revenue from that transaction. We were doing that all day long. So if for some reason, if we didn't look at that metric and say, well, this appears to be working because we made these, 50 sales in a week, and then go throw money at it and it breaks, then we say, oh, well, then the ad's not working. So always all the metrics in your analytics are always a snapshot in time. So each step, when you move something, when you change something, note the response, and then move something else and note the response. There are so many moving parts, as far as the what's going on the website, what's going on with the ads. So every step of the way, you're going to want to notice, these are the people that I'm bringing in based on the ad, meaning they're seeing the ad, they're clicking through, they're clicking from the ad to the site, which first of all is miracle number one. You've got someone's attention long enough for them to click from the ad to the site. And then what happens after that? So, that gets into analytics and metrics and numbers that we're not going to dive deep into today, because, as a reminder, what we're talking about today is just your ads, a direct response, and how to think about the practice of testing, analyzing, evaluating, and iterating your message to the market. So that's step number 2, practice and test. Today's episode is sponsored by Schema app for Shopify. Connect with customers at the beginning of their buying journey. Adding structured data to your Shopify store helps search engines better understand your website. This increases the chance of customers finding and purchasing products and services like yours. Get started today at schemaapp.com, schemaapp.com. The market tells you what it wants. That's point number 3. The market tells you what it wants. So there are a number of different things to think about with part number 3. Unless you have an enormous budget or a list of people who only buy what you want to sell them, chances are pretty good, like the rest of us, you have to sell into markets who buy what they want to buy. And that's always true. I mean, selling. So when I'm running ads for somebody else, it's a rare day that I am the person I'm trying to target. And even then, you have to be a little bit introspective to figure out how to reach other people who, like you, buy this thing. So in the previous episode, when Kim was talking about research, she wasn't kidding. It's the bread and butter of a business. So there are 2 parts of this. Number 1, research your product in the market. And please don't be the only one. So if you're just starting off and you started your business based on, hey, there is no competition, I'm just going to own this market. If there's no competition, you're kind of in trouble. There needs to be some competition so that you can go out and sell. For most people listening, that's not going to be a problem. It's a rare day that I see a product that is so unique, that you're just on an island by yourself. So how are other companies promoting this thing? How is that working for them? What are they doing? And what's the same about the product or the message? And what's different about the product and the message? And what do people say they want? So if you're asking people in the marketplace, and there are a variety of ways of doing this, if there are people in the marketplace that are prospects, what do they say they want versus customers? what do they actually buy? So there's some research to do with this. The other part to the market tells you what it wants is once you put your offer out into the wild, know how you can gauge the metrics to get feedback and insights about what they think. So I was talking about this in step 2 some, but you can adjust your marketing according to data and not wishes and hopes. Now we're back again to thinking about direct response marketing as opposed to entertainment marketing. I mean, unless you've got a bottomless budget and a prairie and a bunch of cowboys and a bunch of cats, and you can film all that. Don't worry about that. Just do what you're seeing in basic Facebook ads, basic, whatever your platform is, fit into that to start. You can iterate later. You can differentiate. Well, you need to do some differentiating from the beginning and don't be the same as everybody else, because that's called a commodity. But you can differentiate your product. You can differentiate your message just a little bit, but don't market based on hopes. Don't market based on wishes. By asking the market what they want, and they will vote with their wallets. So that's how you know you've actually got it. So in the previous episode, Kim was talking about researching other people's businesses, other businesses, products, and promotions. And at one point she went up to Buffalo in the middle of winter, which if you've ever been to Buffalo in the middle of winter, you want to be anyplace else. But so she went up there and she was looking at a business's air filter and how it was put together as part of her research, because she was not the developer of that air filter. So she had to find out about it. She had to get in the mind of the person who developed it. She had to do all of the research that to find out the best way to market this thing. So when it's your business, the research is a little bit different. You already know the product, you designed it, built it, or had it built. You might be too close. You might need maybe someone to bounce ideas off of. You may need just to start testing. Step back, find out the reasons your prospects need to buy your thing. Why is it that, why do they need your shirt? Why do they need your scrapbook? Why do they need your, whatever that is? And, get into those details. When you get, now we're back again to direct response marketing. Direct response marketing is all about listening to the feedback that the market tells you. When you do these 3 things that I'm talking about, study other ads, practice and test, and then the market tells you what you want. You get those 3 things in place, you're going to be in a much better position than the new person who comes into the business. They don't really know what the competition is doing. They don't take a look at other people's ads. They don't purchase their competitors' products. They don't study what's going on in the industry. They put out 1 or 2 ads and think they're going to make it big in a week. Doesn't generally work like that, every once in a while. And they don't know their numbers. They don't know how the market is actually responding. Is 2 sales good, or is 2 sales going to put you under? So that's what direct response marketing is all about. And that's what the copywriters who have been on the show are basing all of their marketing on. You've been listening to the Traffic Handler Podcast. We're about getting new customers, making more sales, and growing your e-commerce retail business. I'm your host, Amy Biddle. Get more at amybiddle.me. And until next time, go sell more stuff.